Hello everyone, I am here with my special guest today, Mr. Mike.
Hey now, hello, my name is Mike. At best, I'm a novice, but I got my buddy Matthew here that's going to make up for my slack.
Exactly. And you are the first official member of our social secret society here.
I'm very honored to be that. Thank you.
You are the member of the drop.
Nice.
What is the first pen that we'll be introducing today?
Okay, guys, the first pen that we have is a Jinhao. It's a 2024 Dragon Spirit EF.
Very good.
You're welcome, Matthew.
Now, this is a unique pen in that it is a very pop factor.
It's gorgeous.
And it has a very nice gold cap, and that is where all the weight of this pen is.
It's really detailed.
Once you take off the cap, which is incredibly detailed, looks like a dragon all over it.
Wow, it has a lot of weight to it, too.
Yep, but when you hold the pen,
okay.
not very much.
Not very much, but it has a really nice satin feel to it.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice.
It is definitely a red lacquer paint over a brass body, which makes it very lightweight. And in addition, what may not be in perfect focus just yet, but will be in great detail, is the heartbeat extra fine nib on this.
Beautiful.
Now that is something that is kind of here and there. Give me just a second here. Let's see if we can get it in view. If not, it doesn't really matter too much. I'll have it in better focus when I do the duel of all of these pens in my Dragon notebook. But if we can get it at the moment, that's fine. Nope, okay, that's all right. We'll move on. This is just a quick introduction to each one and a little description for a reminder everyone. This is the Jinhao 2024 Dragon Spirit pen. Again, it is a stainless steel. It is extra fine. It does have that heartbeat nib. A lot of people want to know, do they write the same as a flat slit nib? The answer is they're usually a little bit on the dry side, but they still do keep up. So if you have an ink that is usually a little bit on the heavy side, and you're trying to write on maybe thinner paper, the heartbeat might let you write on that thinner paper then.
Very nice.
It is the ink that you like.
Very nice. And I know this is a pen review, but what is a Dragon notebook? I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's part of it. So this is my 2024 year of the Dragon notebook.
Look at that.
Yeah. So while it is not what I would call premium premium dragons all over it.
Okay.
But the paper is actually not quite fountain pen paper.
Okay.
It's a little bit on the coarse side, closer to normal paper.
Gotcha.
It's probably double weight, somewhere around 40 pound, but I wouldn't put it in like the high, like 92 GSM, ultra slick, treated paper like I like on the Rhodia. Everyone knows I love my Rhodia paper. when I gifted you your introduction set, that's what I gave you was the Rhodia notebook.
Okay, gotcha.
Remember how slick that feels?
I remember it was
like you're writing.
It was sweet. It was sweet. Yeah, absolutely.
And so you can see, so far, this is how it looks like on most of these.
Very nice.
Very good. Yeah.
Very nice, my brother.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, moving on, what's
number
next
2?
You'd like to introduce?
Okay, number 2 will be the Jinhao 5000 Bent.
Yes. So this is one of my favorite ones right here. And it is actually not the Diamine Red Dragon Ink. I actually have the very special Diamine E-Kindle, which is an exclusive out of China and very hard to get. In fact, it takes quite some time to get in. I think it took us almost 3 months to get it in.
Oh, it's a prize.
$30 for a bottle, but that's not too much compared to, how much these pens can cost.
Right.
This one, however, is yet another $20 pen. On it,
seems like a bargain to me.
It is, in faent. We have what they call a bent nib, Mike.
Okay.
Now these nibs.
Oh, I see it. It's bent towards you, kind of like a hook.
And so if you write down at a flatter angle, it imitates a paintbrush.
Nice.
Now, right now, I don't know how much ink it will put out. I'll probably have to just dip it in the Red Dragon anyhow, which I don't mind getting a little bit of E-Kindle handle of my Red Dragon because it's a lot of shimmer.
Okay.
I do want to see how it writes super wet. When I first got it, it wrote super wet. It was really amazing.
Very nice. It has a great feel to it too also.
Yeah. And then if you hold it almost perfectly straight up like that, it'll give you like a nice like fine grade line. So
love
it goes from a regular like nice fine line, like if you just want to write normal, to like super broad like a paintbrush.
Okay.
It's huge.
Okay, very nice.
Also, on our website, the initial dragon theme looks almost exactly like this flat layout, which is one of the reasons why I love this pen.
Yeah, I'm loving this pen.
You imagine going to those Asian restaurants, I'd say Chinese,
I was going to say that.
even Asian, Japanese, anything that has that ancient dragon look where it's like a red background with the gold dragons all over it, that's what the Jinhao 5000 reminds you of. I have it in that sharp red look with the gold relief. It is very cool. I will say, unlike other pens in this review, this is a snap-on cap. It does not, it's not threaded, so you can pull it straight on and off.
Right.
And it is just a push it on the back just the same, which makes it kind of unique to this review. None of our other pens are quite this simple. But
it's fabulous.
The simplicity makes it easy. It's lightweight. It's one of the lightest weight pens of this review. It's a little bit heavy. The cap has a little bit more weight up here in the top, but overall, like, again, it's a snap off. It's just another cartridge converter, so it's real easy to use. You can see I've almost run it out. That's how much I loved it. Considering it's a bit nib and it imitates a paintbrush.
Nice.
I love it.
That's my favorite pen out of the first two. And also I noticed right along the gold, this little band right here, looks like a customized engraving of, it says 5000 and some other. Jinhao. It's wonderful. That's the first thing I noticed right away. It looks like it's customized.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
customizing,
some measure of that, but that one does, it does look very cool. It is very pronounced. It's
my
not
favorite
a
one so
color, but it is an engraving. It does have a little bit of gold up here on the top.
I noticed that.
And the clip is really nice and smooth. It's easy to get over shirts, unlike a couple of others.
We got some nice ones coming though. Some beauties down there.
Now, what would you like to introduce next?
So let's do number 3, the Jinhao Double Dragon Red Gold Medium 18K gold plated. Yes.
So that is one of the heaviest ones we have, but this has the most pop factor of all of our pens combined. Like, you want to put this on a desk, you want people to see this, and people will be like, wow, this is definitely the pen of the year of the dragon.
Yes.
Like, if you put this on a desk at work and people are like, wow.
Conversations is going to be going around that pen.
Exactly.
It's a conversation speaker.
Now, will it hit your budget the same? No, it's still just about a $24 pen.
Wow. Holy cow.
And so for $24, you do get this amazing conversation starter. You do have the option to thread on the back, which magically they have the threads right so that the actual dragons line up.
Okay.
When you thread
I see that.
It's a threaded post. The dragons line up. They did the threads perfect for it. It all lines up with the nib, so it's super straight. It's super awesome. It too is another cartridge converter.
And it's heavy enough to battle a dragon too.
Oh, yes.
And it has a little red eyes.
If someone's breaking into your house and you're wondering, what pen should I chuck at them that I don't mind losing?
The Dragon Slayer pen.
The Dragon Slayer pen will be it. So the cap band here that Mike was pointing out does have some Asian text. I don't know what it says. I imagine it says something about dragons on it, because that's the theme that all these pens are in. It does have a little red glass jewel on it. Very cool. It has a satiny black section here. Like he pointed out, this is an 18K gold plated, mind you. That's a very thin plating, but it is super smooth, let me tell you. Of all the nibs we have, this is one of the smoothest steel nibs that there are. And it is a medium, which is our favorite.
And it looks larger, that nib, than the rest of them.
I believe it's a 6. Maybe the others are either a 5 or a 4, but in fact, this is a number 6 nib, so it is a little bit larger than the others.
Okay, very nice.
It's a straight slit. And it's Jinhao theme. It's Jinhao branded, so it's not an off-brand. It's on-brand. It's very heavy. It's very substantial in your hand. Heavy relief of the dragons. They do have some red in the eye. definitely a statement piece, very a big topic piece for your desk. Very flashy, very heavy to write with.
Yes.
Sign your name with it and then put it back down so you don't wear out your wrist.
Okay, very nice. I love it.
But
I love it.
It is very cool. It's not that uncomfortable to write with, especially if you don't write with the cap on it. It's still a good piece to write with. Overall, this was probably a B+ grade pen, mostly because it actually does perform. It writes very well. It is a very smooth writer compared to some others.
Okay.
And it's effortless to use. It's just heavy.
Very nice, guys. Very nice, Mr. Matthew.
So what is next?
Okay, in the cleanup spot, which is number 4,
okay.
We got the Jinhao Ancient Dragon Red Gray Bent.
All right. This is also a fairly heavy pen.
Okay.
But it does have the little fiddle piece up here.
Little fiddle piece, okay.
It moves around, it jiggles if you hear it. It's not like super tight, so it is meant to be kind of swirled around.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like a cat's eye effect. It is dark red, kind of like the rest of this.
Right.
It too is yet another screw on to post cap.
Okay.
There's nothing to really truly align it, but we got this in another bent nib because, it was a time when we were just buying bent nibs. We liked them. We were trying them out.
Let's see.
Yep. So again, it's meant to imitate a paintbrush.
Okay.
It is a very heavy pen, but it looks cool and it has a fidget piece on top.
Absolutely. It has simplicity with a flair of plated, beautiful scroll dragon with a little play toy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it is very cool. It'll keep you entertained. It's a little bit on the heavy side, but not that uncomfortable to use. Again, bent nib. You can get these with the medium 18K, I think, on it.
Okay.
But, at the time, we just got it with the bent because we like bent nibs. So,
very nice.
and this is another cartridge converter. So just like before, 99% of these all are running the cartridge converters in them.
Very nice.
So they're easy to clean out. They're easy to put more ink in. They don't last forever, so you're not going to regret your ink choice that long. And if you don't, you can just wash it back out. No big deal.
Very nice, Mr. Matthew.
All right. And what is one of the last ones?
We are in the 5th spot.
Okay.
We got the Jinhao 100 14K LE limited edition.
Yes.
Yes.
Now this,
I love limited edition stuff.
Yes.
And then before that, the 14K with a case.
yes.
Look at
now,
that, guys.
When we say 14K when this mentions, we mean an actual 14 karat gold, not plated, gold nib.
That's right.
Now that is an extra fine nib.
Okay.
And let's start with the case because this is the first piece that you will carry it around in because it is such a rare limited edition pen.
Mm-hmm. Gorgeous.
So it's full of the whole red and gold dragon theme. It is noted on here it's Hero, but it's still a Jinhao pen. Mm-hmm. They just the same company. They make like
very nice, Matthew.
% of all Chinese pens.
Right. Gotcha.
They
very
kind
nice.
of use their own names interchangeably at times. This might be like a very lightweight leather, white painted, red paint, and then a gold paint to get all the shimmer on. You see,
I see
very
that.
shimmery case. Protects your nice enamel plated pen in your pocket from getting all scuffed up and scratched up.
Okay, that's very nice.
Yeah. Inside has a little bit of like kind of a black texture inside. I wouldn't call it a felt. It's just like kind of like a cotton over it.
This has like a Star Trek look to it. It has like the Star Trek emblem right there. Holy cow, this is my favorite one so far on the inside. Look at the look on that one.
Yes, it is actually a Parker remake, but that's okay. Parker made good pens back in the day. This is a vintage pen redo. Now,
nice.
I'm going to go back one step to point this out. When you tighten this cap on, the actual dragon lines up. So you have the whole body of the dragon
see that.
when you tighten the cap on.
Very nice.
The finial is gold plated. along with the bottom.
Okay.
This is all enamel over a brass body.
Okay. Okay. Very nice.
So it's a little bit higher grade. It's not just a cheap paint or a lacquer. It's an enamel now.
Was this one of the pens that you got at the show last year in Orlando?
No.
No.
Sadly.
Okay.
This I had to wait about almost 2 months for out of China.
Okay. Gotcha.
But well worth it. It is another screw-on cap. It does not screw on the back. I wouldn't even post it. It would probably damage your very soft enamel coating. Even though enamel is pretty hard, I definitely wouldn't post it.
Beautiful.
But it is close to the optimum writing size for your hand.
Right.
So very nice. Now, I actually wrote with this pen until it was completely out of ink, and I'll show you why. This pen, like old vintage Parker pens, is running the old
It looks like
style,
a Parker cartridge.
Yes, an old Parker cartridge, but it is using a squeeze cartridge, which is a very old style. I don't even know if I could take it out. Like, I don't even think I would try. It might be glued in there with some kind of something. So I haven't tried, but I did very, very thoroughly wash it out. We will be dipping this pen for the Dragon contest, the Duel of the Dragons. I will not be re-inking it, just dipping it so that when I could clean the nib back out easily. And you see, this is not a typical nib. This is, what do they call it? It's a hooded nib. That's what they call these. Hooded nib. Yep. So when you have like any amount of plastic covering the majority of it, and this is a very, very small, this is like almost a 1 or 2 size nib. Okay. And it's probably the smallest nib I own. Okay. But it is 14 karat gold. So, beautiful. You know, very nice. It writes smooth. I love it. A lot of gold detail in it. You definitely can eyedropper this, which is when you fill up the whole body of it, since so much of it is metal. It has the attached cartridge, so you've got that. All in all, this is pretty much a vintage Parker remake, but they did it beautifully. I love it. I love it too. I daily drove it for probably several months before I completely cleaned it out of its ink.
Very nice.
All right, and what do we got next?
Okay, Matthew. Last on this list is Narwhal Nautilus, limited year of the Dragon. Yes. Medium 14K.
Yes. So another actual 14 karat gold, like full $300 pen almost. It was like $231.
Wow.
This is the mediocre box it came in.
Beautiful.
Now, I never reviewed this pen because it's had some major hiccups. Okay. Now, I love the pen itself and how it looks.
This is like an unboxing, kind of like a little bit.
Sort of. I haven't actually reviewed this pen.
Okay, well.
I saved the box to show you,
where's the pen?
Oh, I have it out. I have it in the sleeve, but they've made other boxes for other Narwhal pens that are way better. Okay. Now, I will say, is it a superior box? Yes, it's a superior box.
That's nice.
There's its logo. Very nice. Not a lot of fanfare for, limited edition, special Dragon limited edition, none of that. But it's a superior box to other ones, especially Chinese pens that come in nothing but bubble wrap and a plastic sleeve. Sure. So, compared to that, we're talking about a huge upgrade.
Absolutely.
I was hoping for a nice Dragon box.
Gotcha.
Ask for, guys.
Okay, so
what do you think?
You were a little disappointed with the box then.
I was. The box was did you
hear that, Noel? He was disappointed with the box. Come on, up your game, guys. I'm good.
I really thought I had seen a review of these pens that someone had a Dragon something in the box.
Did the pen make up for it, though?
The pen is actually still a somewhat disappointing story. I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
So this is the pen, Mike. Oh. I've showed this to you in person before.
Okay, gotcha.
This is it.
Right away, the first thing that gets me is like the sapphire type of stones that are in there.
Oh, those aren't even stones. That's just the ink. That's in the ink window.
Oh, it's that. Okay, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So this is like, what do you call it? Portholes, like you're in a boat. Those are like porthole style windows.
I see that. Okay.
And so that tells you, one, that I've used this particular pen a lot because it was full. But two, It's all very nice, thick, gold-plated on all the details. This clip is extremely smooth. It's almost like a circle, like half of a circle. Very smooth, no sharp edges.
And I like the elegant little gold ring down there. It's nice with the black ebony.
Yeah, this whole body, I believe, is an ebonite pen.
Ebonite,
and then they lacquer it, like not a ruchy lacquer, but a soft lacquer over their nice glitter paints that they use.
And the portholes, I call them portholes. I don't know if that's the proper name.
That is the actual name for what they call this window.
Okay, not bad for it now. And then around it has a little gold kind of porthole trim, rim.
Yep. And now the lighting in here is a little bit soft, but the shimmer on this, like when you have it in full light, like you will be seen with this pen.
Nice.
It stands out like no other pen. Like above all pens, this is an amazing pen. It is super lightweight. Like attest to this, Mike. Like compared to other pens,
it's it's uncomparable to to them, pretty much. Yes,
exactly.
Beautiful though.
Yes. And this is a piston filler.
Piston filler.
Yep. Okay. So it's not a vacuum where you're pushing it in and then it draws in ink to a huge capacity.
Okay.
So you're twisting this knob on the back, getting all the air out, and then twisting it backwards to make it firm against it, and that draws in all the ink.
Nice.
So you've got that. It does hold a large amount of ink. I actually would never take this pen apart, probably.
Okay.
This is
gorgeous.
A gorgeous nib.
Gorgeous.
Like, the amount of detail in this nib is amazing.
I agree. Look at all the scroll work on there.
Beautiful scroll work on it.
You can definitely tell it's 14K.
It is a very soft writer, too.
Nice. It has a great feel to it, too.
Yes. You have to have a very soft hand, otherwise you will spring this nib in like a minute. Like, it is the softest nib I own. Okay. I own another 14K.
Nice.
Which you've seen, I own the 823.
Okay, yes. I remember.
You've written with that.
I remember.
It writes like you're writing on a cloud.
I remember, yeah. Nice stuff.
And this one here, well, you know, it is also soft and light, but unfortunately, despite having an ebonite feed, despite being a 14K nib, it doesn't always flow that well.
Gotcha.
So, I have written with it on actual fountain pen grade paper. I've written with it in Rhodia.
Okay.
I have written with it with my Tomoe River paper. It does better on the Tomoe River because its flow is a little bit less.
Gotcha.
The Rhodia, the nice thick paper, likes you to have a superior ink flow. That's really what stands out on Rhodia paper. Something that writes super wet, super thick, maybe some shimmer, some sheen. Okay. Really bold ink and bold nibs, just putting down a nice line for you. Very nice. This does better if you have a nice small hand. Gotcha. If you want to have kind of minimal, this will do it. And it's not always consistent, but when it's writing and you have it flowing with a thin ink, it is pleasant to write with because it's a smooth body, it is lightweight. It is still pleasant to write with when it is writing. I will stress that. I have had flow issues. Other people I don't think have, but this was a hard one to get. I didn't think I would even get it. When I first saw this released, it sold out in 24 hours. Did it really? Holy cow. Completely sold out everywhere. Wow. Around the world. Wow. It sold out. And then several months later, I had signed up for the newsletter hoping they would, put like a little batch out again. Lo and behold, they did. They did. And I thought, well, I will get it if it's in a 14K medium, because they didn't release it initially in 14K medium. I said, well, 14K medium, I'll get it. I didn't expect it. And lo and behold, that's what they released, 14K mediums. Guys. So, it's exciting. Yep. This will be the top pen that I review. A little bit of a spoiler, I don't think it will do as well, just because it is a medium as opposed to some of the others, but we'll give it a try. It will definitely be put on the Dragon notebook, and it'll be included in the Duel. It is a Dragon pen, bought in the year of the Dragon, limited edition, and not one of the other Chinese pens that you could buy year-round. This was definitely a limited year of the Dragon pen. It should be allowed to be put on my Dragon notebook for the Duel. I like it. All right. Very nice. And we are going to go to the final scene where I will have just the pens in view, my handwriting, and we'll come back for the final winner of the duel.
Awesome.
All right, YouTube, welcome back. This is the actual duel of the dragon writing pens, fountain pens, and I'm going to be writing with Diamine Red Dragon Ink. I have it here. I'm going to dip all these pens for posterity's sake, so they're writing with the most ink they can possibly write with for one sentence. Now, I'm not going to really bother to ink any of them, even if they have a little bit of ink. I'm just going to dip it, and then I'm going to clean them all off after. Some of these, I've exhausted all the ink in them, and I don't want to ink them again. I want to use up what has ink in it, and then clean it out, and I'm going to put most of these away. They're all heavy kind of statement pieces, but I currently don't have a desk to display them at work anymore, so you know. For a while, I was a front desk guy at a hotel, and I was able to use some of my flashy pens, and it drew a little bit of attention. I loved it. I don't have that job anymore. But let's start with the first pen. It wasn't introduced in the introductions, but it is still worth noting. It will still be in the duel. This is the Year of the Dragon Hongdian N24, and it has an extra fine nib. Now, this is wood. This is actual wood here. Nice. This is not a piston nib. It's just for display. It does have a little probably plastic jewel, green jewel here, which goes nicely with the coloring. This is a actual metal, but it is a very lightweight metal compared to the others. It does offer some weight to it, but not very much. The end jewel here has some more dragon features to it. The back does not. It just has more of that wood grain. And then you have a nice plastic grip. You do have a dragon themed nib. And I believe this is, let me check real quick. This is a medium. So this is a medium nib. This is a dragon with a straight slit, and it is very nice. And compared to some others, this actually is a pretty light pen. So I'm going to start with a good dip. This has already been exhausted in its ink, but I'm going to go ahead and dip it here, and then I'm going to just make sure that it's not super flooding my page, but you know, just enough to get it going. Very nice. Now this is Duel of the Dragon pens, not Duel of the Dragon. I can't call it Duel of the Dragon. We all know why. These are fountain pens, and this is my review of how they write in this particular notebook. It's not a particularly great fountain pen notebook, but it has dragons on it. I'm obsessed with dragons, and that is why this year everything's about the dragon. And I was born in the year of the dragon, so nice. You know, I'm allowed to have a little bit of obsession in my own year. So
my battery's at 12%. Smooth.
Actually, this is a bit sharp.
Okay.
Now, this is an overall rating. It's just kind of, you know, based off of several things. So in my head, I'm assessing, you know, the nib itself, how sharp or smooth does it feel on the paper, the line, is it putting out a lot of ink? Considering I've dipped it, it should have plenty of ink. You know, is there feathering? Is it a nice crisp line? All these things I'm taking into account little by little. They're not perfectly weighted because I'm not putting it on a spreadsheet, but I'm assessing my overall, just in the moment, how do I feel about writing with this pen. This first one, I'm going to put it at a 7.5, and that seems harsh, but we'll go through and we'll see which one. We'll just have to see.
Very nice.
It could come out ahead even at a 7.5. It could come out in the top 3. We don't know yet. I have never done this. I've written with all of them, but to compare them so directly, I have not done before. Now, this next one is one of my favorites because I love the styling of it. I made my whole website based on this to start with. This is the Jinhao 5000 with the bent nib. So it does imitate a paintbrush. It is a very different writing style. I do know that when you are writing with it day to day, the ink doesn't really dry out. And like most fountain pens, if you stop, it'll dry up on you. But with that being said, I have written with the e-Kindle ink, which is a very heavy shimmer. It was a orange, almost transparent ink. It does darken up a little bit, and it shimmers super heavy, and it shades really well. So if you go back over in a line, things come out really good with this if you are writing with that kind of ink. Now today I'm going to be using a relatively flat ink, being that it doesn't have shade shimmer. It's going to write mostly one color because it's already a dark ink, but it is one of my favorite inks. It does write very smooth. It's not a very textured ink, but overall, it's Year of the Dragon. There's another dragon pen, guys.
Nice.
I'm going to give it a little dip. I'm going to make sure it's not flooding it. A little bit more, maybe.
I like the way that writes.
Now, you will note that I have given this, despite seemingly a very different type of nib, a bent nib, which is very different from the first one, almost guaranteed to be a fine, in fact, an 8. They were both dipped, so they had equal opportunity to put out a lot of ink. As I expected, the bent nib put out a lot of ink. As an attestament to the paper is not feathering with this much ink on it from that. Now, what I am grading it on is the fact that 1, dipping it did put out the ink I expected, and 2, writing with it is super, super smooth. For considering it's something that writes like a paintbrush, there's not a lot of sharp edges on it. I'm able to go between the broad and the more medium type writing, and then back to the broad with relative ease. It just wrote better. I wouldn't say it's a lot better. It's a whole different type of writing, but overall, in my hands, this is one of my favorite pens to use, and I would buy another one. This was a $12 pen. I would write with it in a medium if I had it, and I might do so eventually. But for right now, I'm going to stick with what I got because I love it. Next up on the list is going to be this one. This is the Ancient Dragon Red Gray with a bent and with the little twirly thing on top, and it is very heavy, but that is part of the experience of this. It's a conversation piece. It also has another of these bent nibs. I'm going to dip it just like it did the rest, regardless of what ink it may have in it. That may be blasphemy to some people, but you know, I don't think it'll contaminate the rest of my Red Dragon ink very much. So here goes nothing, guys.
almost identical as the pen before, it looks like.
Yes, it's the same type of nib. So this is going to be more about the actual pen in my hand and how it feels for its final score.
Okay.
Give this the same score. It's heavier, but it's putting out the same quality, it's putting out the same amount. And I would fully pick this pen up knowing that it was going to be this heavy. You know, as much as it might detract from the experience, if you didn't want something like this, you just wouldn't have it. You know, and that's what it comes down to. I chose to get this pen. I'm choosing to write with it. I would choose to write with it again if I did so, knowing how it feels. And so overall, the writing experience is relatively the same. While it is heavier in the hand, I'm choosing to not write with the cap, knowing that it is a very heavy cap. And it's not that uncomfortable to hold in my hand. The threads are not, while they could be sharp if I was super pressing on them, I really don't. I try to hold it on the actual section, the grip itself, like you're supposed to. I don't have a super death grip on it like some people have. It really comes down to form. You should use the pen as you're expected to do so with fountain pens. Hold it lightly, let it rest on the paper, and then begin writing. That is the way fountain pens are supposed to be used.
Thanks, Mr. Matthew.
I'm going to go to another very look-based pen. But I have said before, this pen writes exceptionally smoothly. This is the Double Dragon Red with Gold Medium, 18K gold plated. So this is still a steel nib, but it is plated, and I do find it does offer some level of smoothness for a medium nib on steel. Compared to other steel nibs that I have, it does write smoother. Not saying it makes everything or that it's perfect, but for what it is, this is another, you know, close to $30 pen. This might be $24 or something like that. None of these have been expensive that I've reviewed yet, but this, I will say, it writes smooth. Let's get to it.
I can feel the smoothness from here.
Yes.
Yes. I can see it. Or a 7?
It's a 9.
It's a 9, that's what I thought. Wow.
It is heavier in the hand. Again, like the previous ones that are heavier, I would pick it up knowing it's a heavier pen. I would have it out because it's a statement pen. Like if I had like a fancy executive desk sitting in an office, I'd have it out.
That's one of my favorite, without question, one of my favorite pens.
Yeah.
It writes, the way it looks, and the way it feels.
Even writing with it on this paper, which I do not claim to be fountain pen grade paper, this is a coarse, very spongy paper. It writes well. It writes smooth. I just love it.
Nice.
It put out an appropriate level of ink for a medium that was dipped. It's a little bit heavy because it was dipped. It's not flowing through the feed. It's just draining off of the feed. And so there is that factor to it, but this is how it normally writes. This is maybe a little bit of an angle issue up here on the end of the dragon when I put double dragon down, but overall, no feathering. The lines are nice and crisp. They're a little bit on the bolder side because it's a medium and I dipped it. Flowed really beautifully over the page. Super smooth nib. I'm not saying that everything that's plated is amazing, but the plating on this was amazing. It's not going to give you bounce. It is a really stiff steel nib, but it was smooth. And that's what I will say about it. It is a smooth writing pen. When I'm looking for a pen that's smooth, that's one of the ones. All right, guys, look-wise, this is definitely and probably the top 3. This is something you could put in your pocket shirts, and it looks amazing. It's a statement piece. You could put this in your pocket with the sleeve, and it will be a show just taking it out. So all these combined, this is one amazing pen. I do like it, but it has an extra fine nib, and that was all it came in. On top of that, it has a vintage archaic filling system, which still does provide a fair amount of ink. It kept going all the way till the end. It was almost down to the last drop before it finally started to give me hiccups. And then I knew it was running out. This ink, it takes a lot to wash it out, so it took a while to clean it, but that's life when you write with really nice ink. I'm gonna give it a little dip here because there's not much of a feed to really fill. This is meant to be filled literally from the system. I'm gonna go ahead here and keep on writing. We got a little bit of background movement, but that's okay. So this is the Jinhao 100.
I wasn't prepared for that.
This is the 14K nib. So this is in fact 14 karat gold, not steel. That is questionable at times according to some people, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with it as in fact gold, not question their legality on that. It is limited edition. It does write a little bit on the sharp side, but it's an extra fine nib. It's meant for people that have smaller hands, smaller handwriting. It's not a super large pen, but it is very impressive to use. The dragons live again. Now the rest of them I wouldn't do this with because, it doesn't necessarily need it, but just as an example, I'm gonna lay down some heavy ink here with this. It is a very dry writer. This is about the same as this really as far as ink it's putting out. Sharp. I'll give it an 8.5. I gave it an 8.5 because it is more usable. If I were to use it even more, I would probably put a professional grade wax over it to keep the enamel from wearing out over my hands. I wouldn't want to wear off the fine enamel coating. It does it writes a little dry as compared to something like my Double Dragon. The Double Dragon writing, I feel like it just puts down more ink, and I like a wetter ink. But in a page like this that's super spongy, you don't always want the thickest line. Like these up here, maybe something that's a little bit nicer paper, a little bit thicker, a little bit, you want to write with that much, that's where you use the bent nibs. They did write good on here. They didn't feather out like I might have expected them to, but they did their job. They wrote smooth. They got the 8. The N24 was a bit on the sharp side. So that's why it started off on the low point. When I first wrote with this, when I first took it out of its box, it pulled paper pulp out of the pages from this book. It was so sharp.
Had the triple P's going on.
And then, in addition, I have even ran it over a smoothing grit paper, the micro mesh, and it is still sharp writing. That is why the N24 continues to get a 7.5. It feels good in the hand, but writing-wise, it's not the best. It looks nice, but it just doesn't write the best. This one writes a little bit better. That's why it gets a little bit better, still being an extra fine. Now we come to the last pen tonight.
This pen, here it is. Drum roll, please.
This is the Narwhal Nautilus. You get a little bit better light. You can see all those beautiful colors. Look-wise, this is...
Would that be real gold?
This is a little bit better solid plating. It's a little bit higher grade plating. I think this is 24 karat plated around the trims. It's not gold, but this is in fact a gold nib. Just like my Jinhao was, this is a real gold nib, okay? And in fact, it's rose gold, not just gold. Right now, the ink in this that I have it inked with, not very much is left. I've been using it. Not as successful as I had planned it to be, but it did work out. I had to realign the feed to get it to work as good as I really felt like it should. It is running a flat slit because it's like every other pen in the world. People didn't want to be that innovative while they made it. We're going to try. I've never dipped this pen per se. I have inked it and then been disappointed, but I've never dipped it. So this will be new for it. Right? So just as a little, how does it look on the book?
Here's a dipping party.
Yes. So right here, it looks beautiful in the book. If you have this on your desk, like hands down, you just won the competition. It looks beautiful. It doesn't have a dragon on it, but it is a limited year of the dragon, which they call a long, from what I understand. Actually, we have one more pen to review. I didn't do the Spirit yet, so I'll get back to that. But I'm going to dip this one because I want to next.
How much was that pen, Matt?
This is $230.
Somebody just joined us.
Beautiful.
Sherry Star. Hello, Sherry Star.
Hello, Sherry. How you doing?
We have Mr. Matthew over here. He's reviewing some of his fountain pens. He's also on YouTube. Right now he's reviewing a $300 pen.
About $230.
About $230. Thank you for joining us, Sherry. He also, Mr. Matthew, he has of course, a YouTube channel where he reviews many fountain pens. As Matthew is writing, all the writing from top to bottom are different pens that he reviewed writing.
All right, so I have given this, I have to be fair, it put down ink when I dipped it. As part of this duel, that was what I was measuring this with. Everything dipped. So So it's putting out the maximum ink it can at a time, and it put down ink. I have not had this experience inking it from a bottle and then trying to write with it. The first time I inked this, I put this exact ink in it, and guess what? It didn't write at all. I had to shake it to get the ink flowing to it. It should not have done that. It should have been saturated from the ink filling because I had it submerged all the way up to the threads in this section while I was filling it. So the whole first area of the pen was completely submerged in the ink. The feed should have been completely saturated with the ink. It was not. It didn't even write. I was so disappointed when I first opened this, and that is why I haven't done a full just review on this pen. Now, for the point of this Duel, I dipped it to be fair to all the other pens, including this one. And dipping it gave me a solid one. Now, I cleaned out that ink. I cleaned out the Red Dragon ink after I filled it the first time, and I put in TWSBI Red ink, which is a very, very basic red ink. I call it the teacher's like ultimate dream ink because it's the ultimate see through it to the text below it correction red ink. Like if a teacher had a fountain pen filled with this ink, they'd be like in correction heaven, they'd be like, wrong, 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 wrong. They cover your whole paper, you'd still see what you did wrong, but it would be covered in red ink because they can. That's, you know, when I first got it, I didn't like that ink, but it's a very thin ink, and it writes with that, and it does well on the Tomoe River paper, which is a very thin paper, and it's fountain grade paper, it's fountain pen grade paper, it's smooth, and I'm able to use that pen with that ink, and it does write and flow. The quality of the gold is very soft on this nib, so you can't have a heavy hand. You'll spring the nib and break it in a minute, and then you'll be out $120 to buy a new nib. Don't put too much pressure on it, guys. Don't. If you buy it. If you find one, best of luck to you. They're hard to find. People don't want to get rid of these, probably because their feed works. For whatever reason, I've actually contacted Narwhal. I gave them pictures. I told them what was happening. They did not reply to me. And then, astoundingly, every time I've tried to show it on video from my phone to prove that this pen doesn't write as well as it could, it starts writing again. So I can't even get it properly fixed. So for right now, it does write in the place it is. I'm just going to wash off this Red Dragon ink once I'm done with all these duels, and I'm going to put more of just the TWSBI Red in it since that's writing right now. I'm going to go back to journaling with it and my Tomoe River journal, and I'm going to be just at peace with it. I've accepted that it needs a thinner ink for right now. I'll try it again later with a nice one, but for right now, it just gets the TWSBI Red because it does flow out with very little effort. The final pen of this competition of the Duel will be the Jinhao Dragon Spirit Year of the Dragon pen. Super heavy cap, beautiful relief.
Did you rate the last pen?
This is the last one. This is it. Okay. This is the last one of the Duel.
Gotcha.
So this determines everything, guys.
Okay.
What's special about this pen, the pen itself is super lightweight. It is red lacquer over a brass body, so the pen itself is super, super lightweight. It does have a heartbeat nib, which is newer to the Jinhao company. They started using these. What is good about the heartbeats is they do write a little bit dry, but if you're writing with a super wet ink, kind of like this ink can be, it may feather on a page that's not super high quality like this paper. But with this nib writing just a little bit drier, I like it. It writes a little bit drier, so it writes, nice and crisp, and the pen is easy to hold. It's about the right length to hold. I wouldn't even bother posting it. It has just a basic description here on the end cap. The finial has the Jinhao logo on it. And I'm going to wrap up this Duel here. I've dipped it. I'm going to give it another little dip because this is another extra fine nib. I'm going to put it all the way up top. give it an 8.5, guys. And that wraps this whole thing up. I gotta say, I'm not truly surprised here by the top 3. Okay? The Dragon Spirit is beautiful. It's a little bit on the sharp side because it's an extra fine. It's going to be the nature of any extra fine. Even my 14K here, that's an extra fine. It's about the same level of sharpness. So that's the nature of writing with an extra fine nib. Regardless whether it's actual gold, whether it's steel, it will be sharp. It's putting down a very small line. The fact of the matter is that this pen is super lightweight. It has the very ornate cap, so it lets it be a statement piece, but it lets you write in more comfort. It's a nice, original, classic style body. It put down a fair amount of ink for what it is, actually better than the other extra fines. So I gave it the 8.5 despite being a little bit scratchy because it put down more ink. So right now, we have the Double Dragon, one of my heaviest pens, coming out to be the winner of the Duel at a 9.
Very nice.
No sharp edges, but I've had no problems inking it and writing with it ever. And that is part of what I am judging this against, is its past writing experience, inking, all that. Everything is coming into play. My entire experience, how much I've used them, how well they've written, how much ink they put down, does it feather, does it not? Coming in down here, we have my Nautilus. I put down the 8.7 because in this Duel, having it came out writing very smooth, and it put down the ink I've always wanted it to put down. Now on this paper, it feathered. It's not a super crisp line, it bled away. But I knew it would. It writes so smooth though, and it's so light in the hand. I call it personally Falcor. And if anyone knows what that is from a movie from the 80s, The Never-Ending Story, the Luck Dragon. It's a lucky pen for me. I had to go through a difficult journey to get it to write well, but it does. It writes, and it writes so smooth, like the Luck Dragon. Even though it does bleed a little bit on this paper, on the Tomoe River paper, it writes good. It doesn't bleed. It puts down a nice thick line, and I love it. Next in line is the 8.5s. So we have the Jinhao 100 with a 14K nib, which is sharp and dry, but there's no feathering. The lines are nice and crisp, and I enjoy writing. It's a lightweight pen while still being flashy and ornate. We have the other 8.5, what I just wrote with, the Dragon Spirit. I don't know. The Year of the Dragon, N24, pardon me. Correct? What did I put up top? Year of the Dragon, N24. Well, that wasn't it. That was the Spirit. I've miswritten it, but this one right here. This is coming in third place with a tie with my Jinhao 100. The pen itself, not the cap, is what I'm judging this on. The cap is flashy, and I love that. And if I put it on a desk, it would make a great statement piece, just like that. You know, people be like, "Wow, that's a really great cap. That's a really great pen." A Mr. Jones that reviews pens has viewed it poorly because the cap was heavy. He said he'd put it under his doorstop or throw it at, someone trying to rob him, but overall he'd put it in a drawer. He wouldn't use it. I would. It's lightweight. It's a nice satin feel on the body. It's red and gold. It has the heartbeat, I believe. Yep, it has the heartbeat, so I could use it on a little bit lesser grade papers like my Dragon notebook. And it put down more ink than I expected. more ink than I expected. It's near worthy of the 8.7 because of that. I put it at the 8.5, making it third because it's still sharp, but it is an extra fine, so that's the nature of it. But overall, I would write with it in this notebook before I wrote with my most expensive pen.
You love that pen?
I love this pen.
I can tell. I can see the...
So overall, I would put it really truly in my heart. The experience, it's sharp, and you could tell it's sharp, and it has the feedback noise. You could feel it on the page. It's a little rough, it's coarse, but its ability to write and put down ink is better in sharpness and quality because there's less flow than the Narwhal Nautilus. And so I would use it before the Narwhal Nautilus on not fountain pen grade paper, which makes it easier to write with on every other page in the world. And not everyone wants to use fountain pen grade paper on everything. Sometimes you just want to pick up a pack of regular paper and write. Moleskine, one of the most expensive notebooks you can buy, is not fountain pen grade paper. Most fountain pens, it will ghost all the way through. It'll look like you can read on one side the same as the other, just reversed. And it's a $25 notebook for not many pages. But if I put this on it, I think it would write fine. It has a little bit of ink, but when you're not dipping it, it doesn't write down that much extra ink. It's a little bit on the dry side because of the heartbeat. And it's lightweight in the hand. But for the winner, because of its looks and how smooth the nib is, the winner is right here. This is the winner, guys. One of my heaviest fountain pens.
It's my favorite.
Super gold, super gaudy, double dragon. Red jewels on the eyes for both of them. Medium nib, 18 karat gold plated. Writing experience. In the hand it is heavy, but that makes it flow good, and the medium nib is super smooth. It put down the most ink that I feel like a medium nib should, which it should at this level because I dipped it. It should put down more ink than usual. But it has always written well, and it wrote the best it's ever written this time.
Nice.
So that's it, guys.
It performed under pressure.
It performed under pressure.
Performed under pressure.
Here you are. This is the Duel the Dragon. This has been Matt commentating. I've had Mike up my side. And this is another drop in the bucket and another example of a feather and inkwell. Have a great day, guys.
He's the main cameraman.